Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Hans Fenstermacher, and I want to welcome you to this orientation for Jeenie linguists. I appreciate the time that you're going to spend with us, and I hope that we can be very productive in giving you good information and helping you be successful on our platform. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. We ask that you use the chat function as much as you like to ask questions or make comments or speak to your fellow linguists on the webinar. But please confine your remarks and your questions to Jeenie and to the content that we're covering. We want to be able to keep the chat box, have the communications be friendly and respectful. So please keep that in mind as we go forward. I would not want to have to close down the chat function if we stray too far off topic. Again, I want to welcome you to this orientation. We do these orientations approximately monthly, but you are welcome to view the replay of this orientation at your discretion and on your schedule whenever you like, so that it's available right after we conclude in about an hour or so. Let me start with some brief introductions of some of the Jeenie team that you're going to hear from today, as well as those that you will undoubtedly be in touch with or have already been in touch with. First is Kirsten Breck-Baker, who is our CEO and co-founder. And Kirsten's going to talk to us in just a moment about her vision for our company and for our collective project here at Jeenie. The second person is myself, the Global Talent Ambassador, and I have the pleasure and privilege of working with all of you on the linguist side to build a community of people who are like-minded and want to spread the gospel of language and culture throughout the world. In addition, we have Corey Berkhofer, who is our Senior Outreach Coordinator. Many of you may have been in touch with Corey already, and Corey is part of the team for a long time and works remotely from California. So hopefully those of you who do not know him yet will get a chance to get to know him. And last and certainly not least is Bob Zung, who is our Outreach Coordinator, been with us a long time as well. And Bob is continuing to work with us now from his new location in Mexico City. So hopefully you'll all get to know these folks a little bit better as we progress. And now, without further ado, I would like to pass the microphone over to Kirsten, who is going to talk to you about our dream of Jeenie.
Thank you, Hans, and thank you everyone for attending today. Whether this is your evening, your morning, your afternoon, we're delighted to kind of have you here. Hans is going to provide a wonderful set of information here today, and I just want to kind of start by, can everyone hear me? I just want to start by telling a little bit of our dream before Hans gets into kind of the nuts and bolts of best practices that we've gathered from the field and from linguists who've been working with Jeenie now for a while to tell us kind of the best ways in which to be a Jeenie on our platform. So I'll just take a few minutes to introduce you, as we like to say, to our dream of Jeenie. And the first kind of part we start with is the why. Why did we come up with this idea of Jeenie as a company? It won't surprise any of you to know that the world is shrinking quite quickly today, and that as the world gets smaller and as we climb borders in our communication and cross borders in our communication, navigating cultures requires quite a human touch that goes way beyond kind of simple machine translation. And all you need to do is sort of turn on the news today to see how critical that global communication is, how necessary it is that we understand each other, that we can communicate with each other, and to recognize that the problems of the world today are in fact global problems. They're not national problems. They need to be solved together. We like to joke internally that there were three original challenges to global communication, the printing press being the first step to eliminating the first barrier of space in global communication. Then, quite later, the internet came along to eliminate the barrier of time, which was the second barrier to effective global communication. And the last remaining barrier to communication is language. And Jeenie has really kind of dedicated ourselves to really overcoming this barrier of language. Most of the Jeenie team, as you'll see in kind of Hans's introduction of himself and Corey and Bob and many others, has a very strong background in language, and we've committed careers and our passion to language acquisition and promoting the value of language skills to the world. We fundamentally believe, when it comes to language, in the human element of language communication, interpretation, translation, and assistance. And we certainly encourage any tool in the marketplace that brings more awareness to the significance of language, but there's no doubt from our mind that the inaccuracy and the limited ability for machine translation tools to achieve the accuracy, cultural nuance, emotion, fast exchange of information, all kind of made possible by humans, it is a real opportunity still. So while so much of the world is kind of migrating towards robotics and automation and machine translation, we're kind of here to double down on the humanity of language and the human element of what it means to kind of communicate with each other in other languages and to help one another in other languages. In fact, many of us here at Jeenie are global travelers, and the horror stories of machine translation that we've experienced have been both, embarrassing at best and dangerous, at worst, as we've watched people kind of have to deal with, machine translation misinterpreting or mistranslating allergies from being allergic to sand instead of shrimp, and things that are actually kind of quite dangerous. So cultural nuance and context are a critical part of global communication, and you need people in order to kind of appropriately have that context. We want the world, and we see it as part of our mission, to have the world appreciate the value of the human aspect of language. So our vision, is to kind of, really help to underscore that humanity. And we like that quote from Paul Safar, who's a futurist. So it says, "But never mistake, a clear vision for a short distance." And so while that's our vision, we realize there's a lot of work to do in changing the way that the world communicates with each other, and building, a global marketplace that makes language assistance instantly accessible in the palm of your hand, at the press of a button. That is our goal. And to bring awareness, to the world of the value of language and to the value of language speakers. And not only do we want the world to value language speakers and to value language skills, but we want to help monetize those skills so that people who have those capabilities and skills can earn money and income utilizing both their language proficiency as well as their cultural competency. And as a company, we want to highlight that human element as an asset, and to invest in the people, our linguists, our Jeenies, who are those very valuable assets to us, and to kind of let you know that you are appreciated, you're valued. We see you not as a commodity in our marketplace, but as the fundamental engine that makes everything work, and as a member of our expanded family. So we created a peer-to-peer marketplace known as Jeenie now, for on-demand video and voice calls with human translators and cultural concierges, if you will. And in that, to make that marketplace function, we built a mobile app. And that app is meant to connect people to live language help and cultural advice, as we said, kind of at the tap of a button. Our goal ultimately will be to expand our app and our service to language pairs of all sorts all around the world. We hope at some point to get down to the dialect level, so that we are really kind of appreciating and migrating to kind of that very finite level of different languages, different people communicating from different parts of the same country, different countries in different ways, to really kind of help and understand each other. We like to say that this is a service provided by people, not machines, and it's everyday language people solving everyday language problems. And how do you accomplish that then? I mean, this is kind of a big goal, right? We want to connect people 24 hours a day to somebody somewhere in the world who understands your language and understands your culture, but they understand the language and the culture where you are, or the context that you're within. And we're using a gig economy model to basically give the 70% of the world that speak more than one language access to the Jeenie marketplace, so that they can sell their language and cultural skills to people who need that access to language help every day. And so in some ways, you'll think of us as a little bit like an Uber or a Didi, but for language and culture help, because we do have an elastic provider side of our model. Only our linguists don't need cars or insurance or spend gas kind of driving around waiting for the work. Instead, what you need is your language skills, a smartphone, a data plan, and winning smiles and professional personalities. Over time, as you can imagine, we've got lots of ambitions for what Jeenie becomes and how we position our very special linguists, our very special providers to the world. In a lot of ways, you'll find when you get on calls with customers, you'll instantly start to get that sense that, wow, I'm not just a translator, I'm not just an interpreter, while those are actually kind of fundamentally significant roles in and of themselves. You'll begin to see that you're more kind of a companion that people need at times, a trusted person that they rely on. Imagine, being in a different part of the world, for instance, if somebody's traveling and, 24/7, knowing that you have the comfort of reaching out to a Jeenie if you need help to get you out of a situation. And we've had kind of, many interesting use cases of that, whether it's been people just kind of checking into a hotel late at night and they, their reservation wasn't there, to people having, a wallet stolen in the middle of a country that they've never been to and they can't communicate with the police, to having health issues, or simply kind of wanting to bring home that best souvenir for a very special family member. So over time, we plan to kind of really tag our linguists with those key areas, those domains that well, whether it's a city, whether it's a skill set. Over time, the more and more we understand you, the more and more we can market your profile to the people who kind of come onto our platform and look for help. So Hans will spend a lot of time, or a little time anyway today, talking about some of the use cases that you can expect as a Jeenie while you're on our platform. Why will people call you? That's what we mean when we say a use case. What are people calling you about? And naturally, you'll imagine that travel will be kind of one of those big items, because when people travel, they need language help. So you can expect that you'll get a lot of people traveling, especially when we hear that language is kind of one of the top 3 reasons that people don't travel internationally, or that they don't enjoy their international travel. So you should be prepared to certainly have a number of people who are somewhere in other places around the world, and perhaps in very urgent situations where they need fast help. Language practice is another use case that you can be prepared to get calls about. People who are studying the language, that one of the languages that you speak already well, or natively, or fully proficiently and fluently, and they're going to want to just practice. And so, ask them some questions, and Hans will give you tips for what you say to a person to kind of understand what level they may be at in their practice, and then what conversations, what topics to discuss with them in order to help their language. And then as we go forward, there's so many more use cases coming. Hans will talk to you a little bit about pilots that we're doing and healthcare that are coming, immigration, international aid, rescue, relief, all areas where we've had partners approach us already and we'll be migrating into lots of different areas, over time with the help of different partners and clients, where we'll be tapping your expertise again to kind of step in situations where people really need to access you. We're very proud to have so many linguists in over 100 countries now, and our goal is to ultimately have linguists in all countries because we'll be serving as many languages as we possibly can. But today, Jenie's still a new company, and while we're working hard at generating lots of attention and interest and lots of kind of buzz in our industries, we're still kind of young, humble, and starting out. And that means that while we're in the process of promoting Jeenie all around the world, we ask for some patience because awareness and brand awareness building takes time. So we invite you to join us on this journey, and we then ask for your consideration, being patient with the customer activity as we ramp up. You will see that sometimes we cycle, and so there will be kind of a huge push for a very busy period of customer activity and lots of customer calls all at once. And then there may be periods with very few customer calls as we test different markets and as we work with different partners to push out different marketing campaigns. But please remember that your standing, in our system always goes up with the more time that you spend online. So when you get a call and while you're on a call, take advantage of talking to that customer. Engage with them, even if they're just trying Jeenie out and they say, I don't really need anything right now, just wanted to see what the product was like. Ask them why they're interested in Jeenie. Ask them how they plan to use Jeenie, and deliver that feedback to us, because your feedback helps to make us better. And as our platform is better, our customers will come more and more and more, which will help you. So it's this wonderful kind of, beneficial circle of life here, if you will, as we all aim to kind of create a great company that you can be proud to be a part of, and a great product that will really help to change the world. So thank you so much again today for participating with us. I'm going to turn it back over to the very able, capable hands of Hans Fenstermacher, and he will walk you through the rest of these wonderful tips to learn. And we just look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. It's always exciting to hear you frame our dream and our vision, and I hope everyone on the webinar is a little bit of that bug and will stay with us on this journey as we go forward. The main purpose of this webinar, in addition to introducing you to the sort of overall vision for Jeenie, is to talk to you about your role as a linguist and as a language genie on the platform, and to make you as successful as possible, and hopefully to answer some questions for you ahead of time so that you feel more confident and comfortable in putting yourself onto the platform and helping our customers. So first, let's talk a little bit just about how you came to be here, and what we need for you to become a language genie, and have this journey to success. You came to us because you're fluent in 2 or more languages, and many of you are fluent in several languages, which is fantastic. Many of you have interpreting or translation experience. Some of you are even professionals at that career, which is wonderful. And you all have a background in navigating between cultures. And this is a critical thing that we take very seriously and earnestly, in that our role is to help people navigate between cultures. So you came to us with those tools and skills, and we asked you for some assessment of those skills so we could understand better what level you are at, where you acquired those skills, and how you feel, how confident you feel in using them. So when you have an opportunity to complete the self-assessment, please take that opportunity and give us your honest evaluation. That will really help us in placing you properly in calls with customers. If you feel like you need something in addition to help you improve your skills or refine something, please let us know. We have lots of resources that we could refer to you. This orientation is also part of your path towards becoming a genie, because we want everyone to sort of feel like they're part of the same family of providers, a family of people who are helping the customers. And this is a way for us all to get on the same page, as they say, with regard to the platform. We also encourage you to do a call as a customer to see what it's like to actually be on the receiving end of the services that you will be providing. We are happy to provide you with some free minutes to do that. Just let us know and we can give you a promo code that will let you use the platform for free to try one of these calls. And a bonus is you'll get to meet one of your fellow linguists online through the app. And another part of your ongoing journey as a language genie is the performance assessments that we believe are very important in this entire endeavor. And those are the customer ratings that customers provide on every single call, as well as the ratings that you, by the way, provide on your side as well, because we believe that both sides of this conversation are important and need to be evaluated. And that's an ongoing process that will help us make sure that the customers are happy, that they want to come back and have further calls with you. And from time to time, we may also do some quality assurance and reviews of calls as well. The platform itself, the Jeenie app, is available everywhere on the Apple App Store and Google Play in all the languages that we currently have active. We believe strongly that the app needs to be localized in each language, and so we do our best to make that available right away in each case. The app is available 24/7 on demand, so that means that as a linguist on this platform, you can go online anytime during the day or night, nights, weekends, holidays, whatever your schedule permits, whenever customers may have a need. Our current language pairs are listed here, and you can see them in the app as well. We are happy to say that we just launched a sign language known as ASL, and that is our newest edition, and we'll be ramping up all sorts of promotions around that in the very near future. We also have some languages coming up with the Mandarin pair, in addition to English, some other European languages, as well as more languages that are completely new, Russian, Arabic, and Hindi, to name just a few, that will be coming in the next few weeks and months. So if your language isn't available yet, please have patience. It will be available soon, and we will be looking to build a market for it. In addition, we want to help you succeed on the platform by occasionally surveying you for your specialty knowledge and experience. Kirsten mentioned that this is part of our overall long-term plan to develop a whole set of linguists with you that can provide specialized experience and expertise. And so we'll be asking you from time to time to give us feedback, and hopefully you'll be willing to share as much as you can with us so that we can help to build that future. In addition, we will have campaigns on specialized topics. For example, language practice. We recently had a very successful campaign around language practice where there was a tremendous amount of activity on the platform for people from all over the world who wanted to learn and study and better their language. As well as another area in healthcare, I believe Kirsten mentioned that as well, and that is a healthcare interpreting pilot program that we are launching this month with small to medium-sized U.S. healthcare clinics and offices. This is an area that we feel is under-addressed in the market right now, and we would like to help those offices and physicians and other medical professionals be more successful with their patients. We will start with Spanish, English only at first as we roll out the pilot program. As we encounter success with the program, we expect to add more languages and locations to the program. So if Spanish, English is not your pair, stay tuned. We hope we will introduce a language set that you do have proficiency in. And we will be looking as well to provide an opportunity for you to earn higher fees on the platform as this program rolls out. Currently, we're looking for linguists for this pilot program who have a third-party medical assessment or certificate or some kind of of way of demonstrating that they have medical experience in particular. We will also be offering a brief online HIPAA training. This is HIPAA is a training, or rather a requirement in the United States for patient information privacy and security. And we will provide that free of charge for the first linguists who decide to be part of this program. So stay tuned for more information about that and as we roll that out. I also want to point out that the platform exists in actually two different forms. The one that we primarily talk about is the Jeenie mobile app, which is the one you will be using the most, where you receive calls and also where you set your availability to online and offline, and can view your call history. This is the main place where you will be performing your services on the Jeenie platform. But there's also the Jeenie desktop web app, which is where you can provide more detail about your background, update your profile information, track your onboarding steps if you're not quite finished yet. You can also refer friends through the web app platform, and I will tell a little bit more about that at the end of the webinar. But please keep both of these places in mind. Your information will be synchronized in both, so you don't need to worry about that. But it's a good idea to make sure that your web app profile is up to date as much as possible from time to time. For going active on the platform, you will use the desktop web app primarily to complete the onboarding steps, as I said, to finalize your profile. And the final step of which is to schedule a test call with our able team. You might get lucky and get Bob or Corey or Yoko or Laura or anyone else on our team who does these calls. And that's really just to make sure that the app is working properly, that you know how to receive a call, and that you have any final questions before you decide to go active. In the mobile app itself, you will receive the test call. You will also be able to then set yourself to go online whenever you like, according to your own schedule. We are often asked, how does the system match you with customers? We have an algorithm that we've built for the app that matches you with customers based on things like language combination, the amount of availability that you have for being online, the amount of time that you've spent online, your customer ratings, which means that the higher your customer ratings are, the more likely you are to be matched with customers in the future. And your experience with various aspects of the app and with various different vertical and domain areas will play into that algorithm as well. In the future, we'll be adding more sophisticated geographic tagging, which relates to the cities that you are in or know well, as well as industries and domains that you have an expertise in, and specific areas that you may be have a lot of knowledge of, such as travel or restaurants. Perhaps you know certain museums very well, certain activities. These are the kinds of things we will ask you about in your surveys, and we will very much welcome your feedback there, so we can help match you to people who are in fact experiencing those areas or events or locations. In order to improve your standing in our call queue, you can the best thing you can do is to be online more often and take more calls. The more calls you complete, the more time you spend online, the higher your positioning is in the call queue for future calls. And as I mentioned as well, higher ratings from customers will help you improve your position as well. In the future, we may add additional qualification and proficiency testing, as well as different kinds of badges. So keep an eye out for when you hear about those things that will help you improve that standing in the queue. Now, of course, an important aspect of why you're on the platform is to earn income. And our desire is for you to really optimize and maximize your ability to earn income. Currently, we have two models that we may follow. The one we currently follow is the on-demand model, which is when you can sign in and out of the system, taking yourself online and offline whenever you like, as much as you like. taking the calls that you are able to whenever you want. In that scenario, you can earn up to $30 an hour on average, which is paid per minute based on the number of minutes of calls that you take. Keep in mind that all your calls add up over time, even if they're very short. So don't be discouraged if you get short calls or your calls aren't very long, because over time those can add up to quite a nice bit of income for you. A second model that we sometimes may use is called the scheduled model, and that means that we will have a specific period of time, a specific event potentially, or some specific occasion where we will schedule you for certain hours or time slots. And those will be based then on a fixed rate that we will let you know of in advance, and may include bonuses for earnings for each call. So if you hear us talk about or reach out to you about a scheduled series of calls, that is what we're referring to, and please do take advantage of that when we have such opportunities. There may also be special cases that we have that come up from time to time where specific subject matter expertise is required, or other special circumstances. And there we may have differing rates. We expect to have significantly higher rates. We will let you know about that in advance so that you'll be aware of when those occasions occur. In terms of receiving the fees that you earn, those funds are transferred monthly through our processing system called Tipalti. And this is a global payment processor where you are able to select the type of payment method that you like, including PayPal and others. You can track your earnings, your fees history, and so forth, and you're able to receive the fees more quickly and securely at a lower cost overall. When you start being ready to earn fees, you'll receive an email from us indicating that you must complete your Tipalti profile so that you can receive the fees that you've earned. I want to remind everyone that we have a very minimal trial period requirement that we ask each of you to fulfill. This is a period of 5 minutes of a total of calls, with 3 calls or so with customers that they evaluate. And if you receive a rating of 3 stars or better across all 3 calls, will then be ready to be fully active. Those initial trial calls are unpaid, but after that, all the calls in the future are paid, as long as you meet that minimum rating requirement by the customers. And as you can imagine, this is important so that we can all feel confident that the customers are happy with your services, and that we address any needs that may come up if they are not. Just a brief note about who some of our customers are. These can be travelers who are either traveling for leisure or business, who need help in a foreign country or a location where they don't speak the language. They may also be business travelers who need help with meetings. Those could be longer calls. They may even ask you to look at some documents or some papers to help them understand what they're reading. Those are different from the sort of occasional travel-related assistance that you may receive from folks who are out and about in a city. We also have tourists who are sometimes just looking for cultural tips and travel recommendations. If you can help them, if you're from the city that they are in, or you know something about that city, we encourage you to help them explore, be more engaged in that surroundings so that they can have a better experience. We also sometimes have visitors who simply are planning a trip, or have relatives or family who are planning to go somewhere, and they want to understand better what that culture is like. What is that country like? What can their friend or relative expect? I recall recently a story of a grandfather whose granddaughter was going to live in the United States. He was in Japan, and he wanted to understand something more about what life is like in the US. So you may have all kinds of interesting information and experience that you can share with people like that. We also have, as Kirsten mentioned, language learners who are looking to practice conversation, who want to ask you questions, who may have something they don't understand about language, where you can help them understand it better. And you can also give them some tips and some explanations that might be more comprehensible to them than somebody in their family or their teacher. So please encourage those folks to study the language, and feel free to engage with them as much as you like. Ask them what kinds of topics they'd like to talk about. What are they learning in their course? What are they studying in their online program? Whatever that is, engage and help them learn more about the language. And finally, we have members of the deaf community now who are seeking help to communicate in an occasional basis, on an ad hoc basis. It may be a cafe, it may be a restaurant, it may be a shop or a service person that they need to talk to. And our app, with your assistance as an ASL interpreter, will help them get through their day much more successfully, much quicker. So now let's talk a bit about being in the calls, getting ready for calls and being in those calls. And here's where we have some practical tips and some practical information that we want to share with you. Before you get ready to go online, make sure you sort of have enough time to be online properly. It's always a good idea to kind of estimate how much time you think you have, allowing yourself 15 or 30 minutes extra just in case you do get a call where someone wants to engage with you longer. Remember that if you have to leave a call early because of your own schedule, the customer may be less than satisfied and may give you a lower rating. However, if a customer does request more time than you have available at the outset, let them know right away in case they want to take the option to choose a different Jeenie who may have more time for them. Some expectations that you can think about for different kinds of circumstances. Practice calls tend to be somewhat longer. Business meetings can be quite long, up to an hour in some cases. And in the healthcare area, we may see calls that are a little bit shorter, depending on the type of call, or probably something closer to 30 minutes if it is an actual meeting with a doctor. In terms of how you present yourself, always remember this is a platform that's global. There are people from many different cultures and different attitudes. We all want to be sensitive to that, so a dress that's appropriate, a behavior that's appropriate for that is highly recommended and requested. Typically, business casual is the appropriate way to dress, and it's a good idea to add a professional-looking photo to your account so that people kind of know what to expect when they encounter you on the platform. Always make sure to minimize distractions and noise around you when you're taking calls, that you have enough lighting so people can see you, that they're not distracted by all sorts of busy things that are happening around behind you or around you. And double check to make sure that there's minimal background noise in your vicinity that microphones can pick up and amplify. Even a distant street noise could become quite annoying for the customer. An important aspect of all calls is to respect customers' privacy and confidentiality. Make sure that you're taking calls in an area where their information and their discussion cannot be overheard, and that their sensitive information cannot accidentally be exposed to other people. It's an excellent idea, and we highly recommend that you use a headset or AirPods or earphones, whatever you have, so that you can maximize the customer's privacy. And this will also help you with being able to hear better from a customer who may be in a busy environment as well. Now, when you go online, get ready to go online, you will see a home screen in your Linguist account that looks like this. And this is where your main tool is for indicating that you're ready for calls by toggling your toggle to online, which turns green, or toggling it back to offline so that the green color disappears. You can also see here your monthly summary of calls, recent calls that you have taken with your rating from the customer, and also it will show you calls that are unrated, that you have not yet rated. It's very important and required that you rate all calls This is a critical aspect of our platform, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But if you do see a call that says unrated, do your best to, right at that moment, go in and rate that call and provide some feedback so that we have information for every customer and every call. On the other hand, when a customer is looking for you, they will see a screen similar to this one. And that is quite simple by design. They can select the type of situation they're in. Here you see English and as their main language and travel as their situation, but they can select a number of other options and the language that they need help with, so that those are the main things that are required for them to make a call. There's also an area here that you see called pricing. This is, if your customers ask you about pricing for Jeenie, this is the best place to direct them. Tell them to tap this button, this area that says pricing, and they will see information about all kinds of ways that they can save money to use Jeenie. And finally, your customer will select a video call or an audio call. That is their choice to make when they are making a call. And the default typically is video call, but they may, for one reason or another, also choose to make an audio-only call. When that call comes to you, you will see a screen similar to this, which indicates whether it is in fact video call or audio call near the top under the customer's profile. And it's a good idea to get used to checking what kind of call it is so you know what to expect, whether to expect to see a video or not. You will also see the customer's language combination and the scenario that they may have selected, so that you can prepare yourself for the kind of information or help that the customer is needed. And remember, whenever you set your availability to online, it's a good idea to pay extra attention to incoming calls, make sure your sound is set properly, your notifications are set so that you don't miss them. Now, when you get in a call, here are some ways that you can be more successful. First of all, during a call, you will see a screen similar to this one with a few controls at the bottom as well as a call time that is the elapsed amount of time in the call. And this is a good place to sort of understand quickly what these controls do in case you need to turn your camera around, or for extreme cases, turn your camera off for some reason, or your microphone off if you need to. The customer has similar controls on their side. Sometimes a customer's video may go off unexpectedly, and this is because their bandwidth or connectivity may be a little bit low, and we preserve the audio over the video function for calls that are for the spoken languages. And if that happens, you will see a brief message that indicates that their video is temporarily off because their connectivity is low, and that it will return as soon as possible. When the customer first comes online, please feel free to introduce yourself, definitely introduce yourself, and let them know that this is a service provided by Jeenie. You can say something like, "Welcome to Jeenie, I'll be your linguist, how can I help you today?" Sometimes it's a good idea to greet in both languages because you're not necessarily sure which language the person you're actually looking at speaks. If you're not sure how to pronounce a customer's name, by the way, please ask them. Customers will definitely prefer to be addressed in the name pronounced correctly for their proper name. You may also then be introduced to a third party. It could be a customer at a ticket counter or someone speaking with someone, in a hotel or at a business meeting. These are typically three-way conversations on Jeenie. So introduce yourself as well to them and let them know that you are a virtual interpreter through the Jeenie mobile app, so that they understand that you're not just a volunteer or that you're not just someone, a random person, but that you are in fact there to help this conversation go back and forth in the two different languages that are needed. For ASL, you definitely want to let the third party know that you'll be signing everything for the customer who is deaf, so that they understand why the customer is looking at the app all the time as they speak. And when you're finished speaking with a third party, perhaps the customer has turned the phone to that person, and you need to speak back to the customer again. Say that person's name clearly so they turn the phone around and you can speak to them again. In the case of ASL, you'll need to potentially ask the third party to turn the phone around so that the deaf customer can see the phone and continue the conversation. And it's important to remember that your most valuable skill on Jeenie is listening. This is something that will let you be as successful as possible and will let you understand clearly what it is that the customer is looking to accomplish. If you miss something, ask for the person to repeat it. And speak clearly and at a moderate pace so that you can reflect everything that you've heard properly. And if you need a moment or two to think about what to say, that's perfectly okay. Remember that Jeenie is here to help the customer succeed and perform the task that they're looking to do. It is not necessarily the same kind of interpreting task that may be required where every single word has to be interpreted in some other formal official settings. Here, the important thing is to help the customer's concept or thought or idea be expressed properly and express back to them the third party's ideas or concepts so that you can help them solve their problem. It's okay to ask for clarification. It's okay to ask them to rephrase or paraphrase something that you may not clearly understand so that you can convey this concept and issue clearly. If you find that you need to keep asking for clarification, it may be helpful to ask the customer to use simpler words or to slow down or to make their sentences shorter. The focus really in these calls is on the customer. So try not to get distracted by anything that may be surrounding them. They may be in a busy place. They may be in a stressful situation. And remember too that our customers are both the individual who may be calling you as well as the business or representative or third party they're talking to. So try to view them both as the people that you're trying to assist. If the customer is not in a hurry, don't be afraid to engage with them a little bit about their situation. Ask them about their travel or their meeting or what they're trying to accomplish. However, if the customer is in a rush and it's clear that they don't have time, be respectful of that and don't delay them by asking multiple questions. Remember too that for all the video calls, you're on camera. So position yourself squarely in front of the device, your device, and you can see how you are framed in the little mini window on your app screen. Make sure you're close enough so that you can be seen, but not so close that your face is distorted. Don't move around too much and don't sort of jostle everything so that the customer feels like you have a steady location and they can focus on you. And obviously, avoid grooming or personal habits while you're on the call. Importantly, if you're getting ready to take a call and you're moving, you're walking, you're in a vehicle somewhere, make sure you stop first. Make sure you get somewhere where you can calmly take a call and then don't move again until you're finished. Remember, friendly, positioned well, make sure they can see you fully. For ASL, you want to make sure they can see your torso so the signing is clear for the deaf customer. Don't get too close, don't move about too much. A couple of special tips for ASL. When you're taking calls, make sure your Wi-Fi or cellular connection is very good because obviously video is critical for the deaf customers. Make sure the background behind you is plain and preferably dark so that the customer is not distracted by your family photos or something that's going on behind you. So likewise, your clothing is ideally dark, no patterns, so that they can clearly see you signing against it, and avoid jewelry or other kinds of distracting fashion items as much as possible. It may be helpful to position your device in landscape mode so that they can see more of your arms and hands. So you'll need to make sure you stand at a proper distance from it. You can judge that based on the window that you're seeing on your device. And make sure the device is facing you horizontally straight on, not tilted up at you. We have had feedback from our deaf customers that they are much more likely to understand your signing if the device is at the same level of yourself instead of tilted up from a desk or a table. And we strongly recommend that you use a headset so that you don't have to worry about sound that you may not hear clearly by standing a bit of a distance from the device itself, from the device's speaker. And after you connect with the customer, make sure that you explain to the third party how ASL works and why the deaf customer needs to see you at all times on your device. Your customer may also sign one-handed. That is very common and not something that we would want to or can control, but you should always, as an interpreter, sign with both hands. You may occasionally get a customer as well that is using not American Sign Language, but some different sign language, perhaps a cued speech, perhaps a sign language that you don't entirely recognize. Let them know that you speak American Sign Language, but that you will do your best to help them. In the future, we do plan to offer other sign languages, so stay tuned for that going forward. Now, for all of you who are serving customers, you may need to take a note. You may want to jot something down. Perhaps it's a number, perhaps it's an address, something like that. No problem. You can certainly do that and ask the customer to bear with you while you do that. Importantly, stay neutral and calm. Help the customer overcome the situation that they want to resolve. They may be anxious, they may be tense, and their urgency may reflect in a bit of tension with them, but try to help them diffuse that by reassuring the speaker that you're there to help. Really, the best thing you can do is go above and beyond to assist the customer in whatever they're trying to do, perhaps even helping them research something on the internet or some other assistance that you can provide through the Jeenie app. If you come up with an additional technique or a tool that you find very helpful for your customers, let us know. We want to share that success with your fellow Jeenies and have those ideas be available for everyone so that the platform can be as successful as possible. In the end, thank the customer for using Jeenie. Ask them to come back and use Jeenie again. And please encourage them to do that whenever they need to. One important point, at the end of a call, you will see a rating screen similar to the one here. It is required and mandatory for all Jeenies to fulfill the rating screen to let us know how the call went and to provide some comments in the add comments box. This is extremely important because it helps us understand the kinds of situations customers need help with and ways that we can continue to promote and market the product so they will come back and use the product again, which will give you more opportunities to use to earn fees on the platform. Remember, these ratings take very little time. They're mandatory. Your earned fees may be withheld if you repeatedly fail to submit ratings, and you may even lose Jeenie privileges if you don't do this on a regular basis. Customers also rate you, as we mentioned before, and these ratings help us determine your standing in the ranking for future calls. So please take this very seriously at the end. If you have any difficulties or questions about it, let us know. We'll be happy to answer them for you. Now, finally, I just want to share a couple of points about what happens if there's a problem. We don't want there to be a problem. We try everything we can to avoid them. But if there are occasionally a problem does crop up, we want you to be prepared. If a call was different than what you expected, perhaps a customer asked for someone of a different gender, you can politely let them know that they need to hang up and request a new Jeenie in the Jeenie app. If that happens, let us know right away by shaking your device and following the prompts that show up under Report a Problem. I will show you an example of that in a moment, but you can do this anytime you are in the app to let us know of any questions or concerns or problems that you have. If you need to interrupt the customer because they won't stop talking, politely do so. Ask them to pause a moment so you can interpret what they said. Many customers don't have a lot of experience with sort of a consecutive interpreting, and they may not know how much they can speak before you need to understand and interpret what they've said. So feel free to help guide them a bit on how to do this well. If you don't understand something, ask for clarification, as I've said, ask for repetition, maybe a synonym perhaps if you're not clear on what they're saying. If the vocabulary or topic is just too confusing for you and you think you can't continue successfully, then say to them, I'm sorry, but I think a different language genie would be able to help you better. May I ask you to end the call and make a new request in the Jeenie app? You may also occasionally see that the countdown timer turns red, as in the circled area here on this screenshot. If that occurs, that means that the customer's minutes that they have in their account are beginning to go down to 0. This means they're on their last 2 minutes in their account. If that appears, let the customer know that this is happening and that their call will end soon. If they would like to continue beyond the minutes that are left, they can purchase a package of minutes or add payment details even while the call is still occurring, so that they continue talking with you. At the end of that countdown, if they do not have further minutes or have added payment details, then the call will immediately end for both of you. Make sure that you remind them of that so that they can avoid being disconnected. If something happens where you feel uncomfortable, a customer is saying something that makes you feel a bit uncomfortable or asking you for something that you're not comfortable with, let them know that you're not able to do that, and is there anything else that you can help them with? If they persist in doing something uncomfortable or saying inappropriate things, tell them politely and firmly that their request is inappropriate and end the call. Always let us know right away by shaking your phone and following the prompts to let us know that there was some element of this particular call that was uncomfortable for you. If you are asked for personal information, never share your personal details. Customers do not know anything more about you than the profile photo that you've added to your account and the name, first name and last initial that you've added to your account. That is all they know. They do not know where you're located. They do not know your phone number. They do not know your email. They know nothing else. And it is a violation of our terms for them and you to share your personal details. So make sure you let them know that you're not allowed to provide that information. We take the safety, comfort, and privacy of our language genies very, very seriously here. If you need to end the call for some reason, politely let the customer know. If they still need assistance, they can submit a new call request. Some polite language, as you see here, is something that you can say. Just remind them that they may not get the same language genie the next time. Now, in a very, very rare and exceptional case, if you feel like the customer call has been reached the level of what you would call abuse, perhaps they were using profanity or being harassing in some way, this is something we will not tolerate. You have the right to end that session immediately. In the upper right corner of your rating screen, you will see a report button that allows you to report abuse immediately. This rises to the top of our queue and lets the entire Jeenie team immediately know that there's been an issue. It also immediately suspends that customer's account so they cannot do any further calls until we investigate what happened and clarify whether they are in fact allowed to continue using the platform. So this is something you want to use very carefully only if you feel like the customer's behavior or language or attitude has reached the level of abusiveness. Please let us know if you have any questions about how to use this feature, and we'll be happy to give you more detail. Other than that, if there's a problem that you want to report, as I've mentioned a couple of times, you can always shake the phone and you will see a similar dialogue to the one here. Tap report a problem and you can tell us what happened in that call. Perhaps a customer was dissatisfied in some way and you want to let them know why. Or perhaps the customer was behaving oddly and you just feel like you want to let us know in case we want to follow up. Or you have other concerns about the call that you want to let us know. This is the best way to do this because it connects it directly to the call that you were on. Remember that you are indemnified against liability as long as you adhere to the Jeenie terms of use. If there's an emergency that occurs on your side, in the middle of a call, do your best to apologize to the customer and excuse yourself and end the call. As soon as you are able to, contact us and let us know what happened so that we can make sure that there isn't a negative consequence for you or the customer. If the customer, on the other hand, appears to have some sort of danger situation or life-threatening situation, do your best to advise them, help them contact local authorities or speak to local authorities, and then hang up and contact us immediately by shaking the phone, sending an email, or contacting someone that you know who's on the Jeenie team right away so that we can follow up. In the end, remember, the customers are depending on you when they call. So help them communicate, of course, in the language they need help with, but help them also engage in the environment that they're in if they're traveling and be more immersive where they are. Help them by assisting them with solving a problem. Help them enrich their experience so they can enjoy a language and culture much better wherever they are going. And in the end, help serve our customers and our business customers so that they can be more helpful to their end customers and provide experience. Those are the things that we wanted to share with you. I appreciate your attention and your patience. I know there have been a number of chats going back and forth, and the team has been responding to those. I will take a moment to just double check with everyone on the Jeenie side to see if there's anything else that I should address, and then I will get right back to you. It seems like the team's been doing an outstanding job answering your questions, which is great. We're certainly here to answer any further questions you have that may come up after this. You can always contact us at linguists@jeenie.com or info@jeenie.com or any of our private personal emails, I should say, and feel free to reach out anytime. I'm going to in case, wait for the team to flag anything else that I need to remind you of, but I want to give you a couple of final pro tips here as we close. Always set your app on your device to auto update so you get the latest version. We are constantly improving the app and adding new features, and you want to make sure that your app has the latest one. So double check always that you are set to get an auto update whenever. When you are online, make sure you can see and hear the notifications. Even if your phone is asleep or the screen is dark, you want to make sure that you have some way of being alerted that the call is coming in. And always hold your phone so the customer can see your whole face. I know sometimes you may be tempted to hold it a bit closer to hear more clearly, but in that case, better to use a headset and have the customer see a nice smiling, friendly face that they can talk to on the app. I also want to remind you about our Jeenie referral program, our customer referral program. This is a great way for you to earn additional income. If you refer your friends, you can earn up to $25 in 2 steps. After you create your account, go in and tap the refer a friends button and enter their emails, and Jeenie will invite them based on your behalf to experience Jeenie for themselves. You can also copy the URL and send that to privately, if you like, to your friend. We will know that that is a referral that came from you. For every customer that you refer, you will earn $5 if they make their first call of at least 5 minutes, and you will earn an additional $20 if they make any purchase of a minutes package from Jeenie. So remember, this is a great way for you to spread the word about how great Jeenie is, and your friends will get 5 minutes free on the account, as well as the joy of being able to use the platform. And who knows, maybe they'll even reach you if they call in. We encourage you to follow us on social media. We love to engage. You'll see some of us from time to time answering and responding and commenting, so look forward to seeing you there. And if you need any other additional information, you can find that on our website. You can also email us, as I said, at linguists@jeenie.com if you can't remember a specific person. If you have any questions, fire away. We will answer them as quickly as we possibly can. And if there was any part of this orientation that you would like to see again or just want to refresh yourself, you will receive a link as soon as this webinar ends where you can click replay and scroll through or watch the whole orientation again. So this is the information we wanted to share with you. We will continue to leave the webinar open for a few minutes for the chat to continue in case you want to finalize any questions with Bob or Corey or Kirsten or even myself, and then we will close the webinar. We look forward to working with you all. We look forward to being in touch. I hope you have a great day or evening ahead of you. Final note that seems to have come up a couple of times. In order to know where you are in the onboarding process, always go to app.jeenie.com and log in with your account credentials. There you will see what's left for you to do, and you will be able to take care of those steps so that you can go active on the platform. That is a place that, as I mentioned, is a web app that you can always use to track your progress and adjust anything in your profile. So please make a habit of checking that as much as you can, even when you're active, just to make sure that everything is. Thank you again. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I look forward to meeting some of you online or even in person at some point. And please feel free to use the chat for a few more minutes while we finalize any questions that are still outstanding. Thank you and take care.